Hello and welcome to The Explainer. Today we are digging into a book that is going to completely change how you see basically everything around you, from your front door to your phone. We're talking about Don Norman's classic, The Design of Everyday Things.
So let me ask you something. Have you ever fumbled with a new TV remote, pushed on a door that was clearly meant to be pulled, or just stared at some new gadget feeling totally and completely useless? You know, that little sinking feeling that maybe, just maybe, you weren't built for this modern world?
Well, here is the huge, revolutionary idea at the heart of this book. It's not you. You are not the problem. That frustration you feel, that's not a personal failing. Nope, it's a design failure. And that simple shift in thinking is the core idea we are going to unpack today.
And look, this is way more than just a nice thought to make you feel better. It's really the foundational principle of what makes a design good. For way too long, we've all just been taking the blame for objects that were poorly made.
And if you think you're the only one who feels this way, you are definitely not. Even the author himself, Don Norman, admits he felt like this for years. He just figured he was clumsy or bad with machines. That is until his work in psychology showed him what was really going on.
It's almost our default setting, right? A device doesn't work, and our first thought is, what am I doing wrong? And we see this on a massive scale, too. I mean, think about major industrial accidents.
You look at the official reports for things like plane crashes or incidents at nuclear power plants, and they often chalk it all up to one thing: human error. But Norman argues that's just the lazy answer. The real question we should be asking is, why was the design so confusing that it allowed a human to make that mistake in the first place? The fault, he says, isn't with the person, it's with the design.
Okay, so now let's get into some brilliant and honestly, kinda maddening, real-world examples of this whole thing in action. Norman has a great name for it: the psychopathology of everyday things.
It should be the easiest thing in the world, shouldn't it? Just walking through a door? Well, Norman tells this great story about a friend of his who was visiting a post office over in Europe.
So his friend walks in through this big, imposing row of 6 glass swinging doors. He gets a little distracted, turns around to leave, and tries to push his way out through the set of doors right next to the ones he came in. Nothing. He tries another one. Still nothing. A little bit of panic starts to set in. He was literally trapped.
So how on earth did this happen? Well, the designer was going for beauty, for symmetry, so they hid the hinges and the support pillars. The problem is, in doing that, the doors gave absolutely zero visual clues about which side to push. Norman's friend was pushing on the hinge side of the door. See, it wasn't his fault. The doors completely failed to communicate how they worked. And this problem is everywhere once you start looking for it. Norman talks about using a slide projector, where a quick press of the button moved the slide forward, but a long press sent it backward, spilling the entire tray of slides. Or what about a fancy new phone system where the hold function was replaced by some random arbitrary sequence of buttons? Sound familiar?
Okay, so if bad design creates all this confusion, what does good design do? Well, it provides clues. It communicates with us, silently, effectively, just through its own shape and form.
The solution lies in this key concept called affordances. An affordance is basically the relationship between you and an object that just screams how it's supposed to be used. A chair affords sitting. A knob just begs to be turned. A button wants to be pushed. Good design makes these affordances totally obvious.
This is the perfect solution to that whole door problem. When you see a flat plate on a door, your brain just knows, push. When you see a handle you can grab, you know to pull. You don't even need a sign, because the design itself tells you exactly what to do. And when a design has these really clear affordances, it helps us build an accurate conceptual model. That's just a fancy way of saying our mental map of how the thing works.
Just think about a simple pair of scissors. The 2 holes clearly afford putting your fingers in them. The different sizes of the holes even suggest which fingers go where. The blades show you exactly where the cutting is going to happen. You get it instantly, without ever needing a manual. That is a perfect conceptual model, all thanks to a great design.
And this leads us to one of the most powerful ideas in the whole book: the difference between knowledge that's in your head and knowledge that's out in the world.
Think about it for a second. There are maybe 20,000 or even more everyday things we interact with, from all the different types of faucets, to zippers, to all the gadgets in your kitchen.
It would be completely impossible to memorize the operating instructions for every single one of them. So how do we manage? How do we cope? Well, the secret is,
we don't have to.
A well-designed object doesn't force you to remember how to use it. It puts the knowledge out there in the world, right in its physical form. The door handle tells you to pull. The scissor holes tell you where your fingers go. The design does all the heavy lifting so your brain doesn't have to. So why is this so much more than just a complaint about annoying gadgets? Well, because these principles have huge, real-world consequences.
Seriously, good design saves lives. It makes critical equipment in hospitals or airplane cockpits intuitive, which reduces the chance of that so-called human error. It makes our daily lives better by cutting down on frustration and making us more efficient. And for businesses, while creating products that are easy and even pleasant to use is a massive competitive advantage.
So from now on, the next time you find yourself struggling with a new appliance or a confusing website, or even a simple door, just pause for a second.
Because by learning to see the world through this lens of design, you not only free yourself from all that unnecessary guilt, but you start to see how we can actually build a more understandable, more human-friendly world for every single one of us.